welcome to Interview of the Blues. My guest tonight is blues slide guitarist Kerry Kearney. Kerry, welcome to Interview of the Blues. How you doing, man?
Good. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah. So
inside joke.
Yes, exactly. I understand at the age of 4, you got interested in the guitar. What was it about the guitar that interested you so much at that age?
My dad was a big influence on us. He had this thing called a Heath kit, and what it was what we would say. I'm trying to get the word here to go on that. There were plans to make a like a speaker box. Okay, so he had a 15-inch speaker. He had a Macintosh receiver, and he made this beautiful receiver. And he had a turntable and stuff like that. And he played music around the house all the time. He loved music. And when my brother he turned about 13 or 14, he took him to get a guitar, a beautiful red Mustang. I remember going to the store. I remember the smell of the case. It was beautiful. And I went down with him when he got it. And I was just like so blown away by it. And I used to watch him play. I was just a little kid watching him, play the guitar. And it just influenced me so much. I wasn't allowed to touch it, of course, but I had a little Mickey Mouse, little type of little thing going on. And like Roy Rogers type of, ukulele, something like that. So that was my thing. And I just loved it until I was of age enough to really get something nice. I was just wanting it so bad all the time. It was great.
Now, I understand that your brother wouldn't let you play his guitar.
No, I remember one time.
Did you sneak his guitar at all?
I snuck it. Yes, right. I snuck it one time. I was a teenager at the time, and he went out of the house. It was a beautiful ES350. It was a beautiful Gibson. He still has it actually, a 1953, and it was a big jazz box. And he went out one day, and I thought that he was already out. So I was like, "Oh, great!" So I went and grabbed it. I'm sitting playing. I plugged it in and stuff, and he forgot something, and he walked in on me. And I was like, "Oh my God!" So it was all, I was pretty, horrified, I should say. And but I mean, we became really great, very close.
How did you come to discover the blues?
That's my brother also. I was probably around 12 actually. This is really, and I had a little guitar I had. I said nothing really fancy yet, and I had on the Layla album, and I had "Have You Ever Loved a Woman" was on. I'm listening to Eric, and I'm trying to like pick out little notes here and there, as much as I could. And what happened was my brother came in, and he said, "Hold on a second," and he put on "Live at the Regal," B.B. King "Live at the Regal," the live album from the Regal Theater in Chicago. And when he put it on, I said, "Wow, it sounds like Eric." And he goes, "No, Eric sounds like him." And that was when I was like, "Wow." I didn't really realize like what was going on in that kind of sense like that. And like I said, he was so voiced in all that kind of stuff. I had one brother that was a big folk guy in the 60s. I had one brother that was a big doo-wop guy, loved Elvis, all that stuff like that. I had so much education, and so I had so much music all around me. It was just engulfed. It was great. But the blues is the thing that really got me. I hear those notes. I just wanted so badly to play that kind of stuff like that. And listening to the actual people that play it. See, I mean, of course I love rock and roll. I love like Led Zeppelin and, like I said, Cream, Fleetwood Mac with Peter Green, Johnny Winter, all those people. I still wanted to get the education they got. And I found that the way to become or to get that kind of feel that was going on, to hear the actual thing. You can't have a facsimile of it. It's not, it's saccharine compared to the real sugar, what you'd say, what I mean? Although I can't put down, Johnny Winter, of course, Peter Green, Eric Clapton, Mick Taylor. I mean, all these people that were just, the greats coming out of Mail, I mean, it was like all the stuff came out of that. So, but still, it was the bridge between that and the actual, Freddie King, Albert King, the three kings, everybody like that. So it was great, and, but that's it. And then I got into like, slide later on. I got into like Robert Johnson, of course, Nancy Lipscomb, Mississippi John Hurt, one of my favorites. I still listen to it to this day. I mean, I put it on, just let one of his, one of the CDs go for like, forever. It's great.
Now, what blues musicians influenced you other than like the Kings, B.B. King and Freddie King, Muddy Waters? You said Robert Johnson.
You know, there's so many. I mean, Big Bill Brunzi. I always liked him. You know, Howlin' Wolf. Skip James. He also had a really high voice, that really kind of wacky voice he had. Was good. I mean, fantastic. Some modern guys too. Robert Cray, did a couple shows with Robert Cray. I thought he was great. John Hammond. I did a show with John Hammond, and he tried my slide guitar I had. My one I had right here. I'll play it for a second. He said it had the mojo, and I was really oh cool, you know.
So how did you get interested in playing the slide guitar?
You know, a friend of mine, he was a fireman before he became a fireman, actually, and he had passed away. He had gotten killed during 9/11 in the towers.
Oh, my condolences.
And we were jamming. We were like 19 at the time, and he said to me, he says, "You'd be great at slide, man." And I was like, I just didn't really think of it at the time. I was like, "You think so?" So I took an old guitar and I put some heavy strings on it. I bowed the neck slightly, so that the action was a little higher. I tuned it open to a G chord, which is like kind of a Robert Johnson type thing, you know. And I did that, and I just started doing it. My brother showed me a little bit how to do it with the fingers. You got to when you're playing, you got to dampen the strings that you're not playing to keep the string noise down. And actually, let me show you really quick. This is a slide. This is one of my slides. This is a ceramic. It's dark blue. It looks probably like black, but it's like a dark blue color. Little monster. It's pretty cool. And it's like a porcelain ceramic thing, and from Rocky Mountain Slides over in Washington. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll look into it. I should know. I'm one of the Dorseys. So anyway, but this is an old Silvertone guitar actually from Sears. About $25 brand new, and there's a picture of Howlin' Wolf playing this exact guitar, and it's cool. But I'll show you with this hand here and stuff like that. So if I wasn't doing that, if I wasn't dampening strings, it'd be more like this, like it's still kind of a bluesy sound, but with dampening it's more.
Yeah, it doesn't have that sweet tone that when you dampen it has.
The dampened string, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit heavier. Although there are great guys who play without that, though. I mean, you got the. You know, so that's that thing like that. It's funny. It's a little like riding a bike. Slides like that. I do have to keep I finger pick a lot when I'm home. I'll play like something on one of my guitars. I'm doing stuff like a Mississippi John Hurt type thing. But you got to keep your hands moving. It's more of a. I remember. I think it was Jeff Beck said it one time. He said he has to play like a week straight to keep up with himself, because the way he plays, if he didn't play for a month, like he'd probably lose something. He feels so he's got to play all the time. I mean, I feel similar to that, where I have to play. I got to keep my fingers moving, so I finger pick a lot, which is very, very similar to what I'm doing with the slide.
So I heard a story that you were a member of the Jefferson Starship, and it was started out supposed to be like a 3-month gig, and ended up being a 5-year stint with this band.
Well, you know what it was? It was a friend of mine had called me. He was I was going to be a policeman. I'll get back to that really quick. I was going to be a New York City cop, and I was all ready to go to the academy. And so what happened was a friend of mine called me from California and said, because I was playing in the band at the time, he said, "Listen, we have this opening. We're playing. It's Cantor, Balin, and Cassidy. It's Marty Balin, Paul Cantor, and Jack Cassidy. They had a band in 1988, 89. And it was Big Brother and the Holding Company also, without Janice, of course, with Sam Angelo became very, very, very good friends with the guitar player. And so it was the three of us. So we got there, the Palace of Fine Arts. It was a Toys for Tots benefit. And what happened was we did our set. I get off the stage, and Marty ran up to me. Marty Balin said, and he goes, "Wow, great guitar player." And I thought he was being nice. I didn't, I'm like this kid from Brooklyn I live in, Queens on the beach, and I'm like, whatever. He's just being nice to me. Thank you very much. To me, it was like I remember listening to him as a teenager, like on the radio, like these huge hits. And here's this guy coming and telling me I sound good. I'm like, yeah, all right. So anyway, make a long story short, it's a long story, but I'll make it short. What happened was, so I come home. It was about a month or so before I was going to go into the academy. And I was having a bad relationship with an old girlfriend back here. And a friend of mine called me. He said, how's everything going? I'm like, I'm not doing too good. I got to do this, blah, blah, blah. He says, listen, you're not doing nothing this week. Get on a plane. Just get on a plane. Pack some stuff. Come on out here and just hang out. You're going to mellow out. Beautiful California, San Anselmo, Marin County, north of San Francisco, about an hour away from the city. Gorgeous. So I went out there. He called Marty Balin up. And he said, listen, that kid is here, that guy you like, that kid who played. So Marty came over one day, and he had a guitar with him. He said, listen, you want to jam? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we sat on the couch, had a cup of coffee, jammed, blah, blah, blah. And he says, listen, I'm coming back tomorrow. You want to try some tunes? I got a bunch of tunes. I'm like, I'd love to. Let's do it. So he came back the next day. He walked in with a bag, and in the bag was all these handwritten lyrics from Surrealistic Pillow to Volunteers of America to Miracles to whatever. All handwritten by him. So he said, listen, you ever hear this one? I was like, of course I heard. I know this stuff. I knew what's by Yoma stuff. So we played a little bit. We jammed for about 2 hours. And after that, he said to me, he says, listen, I'm going on tour for 3 months. I need a guitar player. Would you come? I'd love you to play with me. And I said, it took me literally a second. I said, yes. And I didn't think about anything back here. I didn't think about the academy, nothing. I was like, I'm still young. I'm like, what? I can always do it some other time, whatever. So I went back, got my stuff, put it all on a plane, came back here. I'm back to California. And we practiced for 3 weeks in this old church he owned, the Church of San Anselmo. And it was a rehearsal hall. It was once a working studio, which Sly Stone used to own it. So anyway, we play, we do it all. In 3 weeks, laying on the couch one day, all of a sudden, boom, I hear a horn outside. I look out the window, it's a tour bus, a 45-foot tour bus with a big eagle on the side. I thought it was like Willie Nelson was coming to town or something. And they're like, let's go, come on, let's go. So I go down, get my bags, all my stuff, I'm all ready to go. They open up the bottom, pull my stuff on, all my gear is there, a couple of guys, the road guys, they put it on. I go on, and I didn't come home for 5 years. I just got on the bus, and that was it. And meaning I didn't come home, I stayed in California. I visited once in a while as I came through, but otherwise we did an album together and everything. It was just the greatest thing. And let me tell you something, you really know what you love in life when you can, especially as a musician, it is a circus, you know what I mean? I've been straight since I was 17, so it's 43 years this year, 4th of July. I haven't had a drink, I haven't smoked, I haven't done anything pretty much, you know what I mean? So I'm a totally, straight person. But I can see why people, not in the party atmosphere, but why they would do drugs, because we're on a bus. We go to 300 miles to a town, all night long we're traveling. We get up 2 in the afternoon, they were set up for a sound check. I go in, we get something to eat, we do a sound check, boom, 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 boom. You're doing it 4 nights in a row, the same thing. And I am so jacked up, and I'm so psyched, and so full of coffee. And I was about 125 pounds then. All I did was drink coffee and whatever, eat sweets. And that whole time, our bus driver on the bus, he was, his name was Randy, and he was, before he was also a road manager for David Crosby. And there was a seat on the front of the bus besides where he was driving. And I would sit there all night with him, and I'd play. I knew every song that driver knew. I played every song. And the song title, there you go. And we would play, we'd sing, he'd harmonize, and we did all the stuff. But I knew after 3 or 4 days, you are so tired, you are so exhausted. And as soon as that time comes, you got to get on stage, you got to do something. Your life comes, all of a sudden, this big burst of vitamin B comes in your body, and you just out playing again. And that's how you know. I knew then that this is what I want to do. And it was so great. And I would pinch myself. I'd be sitting on the bus with everybody talking about this and that. He'd be talking about Monterey Pop, about Woodstock. And I'd say to myself, I grab myself am I really here? Like, just really, I came from like, really just, like I said, I was a kid on the beach. I grew up on the beach in Breezy Point, New York. And to see this, and to all of a sudden to be in this thing, and then to treat you as an equal musician, it was just like, I was like, wow, it was fantastic. It was a really great experience. And the funny thing too is I tell people that they say they're going somewhere. They say, oh, we going to, going on a trip. Where you going? We're going to Puerto Rico. We're going to Cancun. I'm like, go west. You know what I mean? Like, go to Zion National Park in Utah. Try that. Go to the Grand Tetons. Go to San Francisco. Like, there are places that are so beautiful in the States that I've seen. And it's funny, I remember going to places more than I do playing them. You know what I mean? It was like such a great thing to see it all, you know what I mean? So,
right.
But that's pretty much that story. A long story made kind of long. So
That's okay. Hey, let's talk about your songwriting. Is it something that you do periodically? Like, do you sit down and write, or is it just spontaneous for you?
It's spontaneous. I'll tell you what, I used to have, I don't have it anymore. In my car, I used to have those little tape recorders with the little tape. And I'd be driving along and I'd be humming something. I'm always humming. I'd be humming something and I'd put it on tape. And I'd have maybe like about 12 or 13 things that I've hummed throughout the year. And when it was time to make a CD or something like that, I would just listen to it and get some ideas. Like, I could put words into any tune. If I'm doing, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this really quick for you. Again, on guitar again, I'll just do it really quick. That could be 100 things. So I could sing 100 things to that. I could do not bragging, babe, so don't put me down. It could be the Beach Boys. It could be, baby, don't you wanna go? It could be Sweet Home Chicago. There's 1,000. You can do 1,000 things to those little beats. You know what I mean? So that to me is, I'm sure a lot of people. It's funny when you put on some. When I learned a lot of guitar, I used to sit around and jam. I put on an Elmore James album. Okay, an Elmore James. And there was 14 songs on each side. So one song was a shuffle, one song was slow, one song was like a rumba. And I'd sit there, it was all the same key. And I'd sit there, I'd just play along with it like that. And I would just make up my own little, I'd cop riffs, make up my own stuff, put it all together. And it's like that. That's what it is. But I have to be, I'll tell you what, one day I was riding along and the guy on the radio kept saying, let's say bon temps roulé. That's the good times roll. I can't really say that, the French like. But he kept saying that. I said to myself, I want to write a song like that. I want to write a song with that line in it. And I have a song called New Orleans. And at the end of it, I'll do it for you really quick. It goes, give me my rice, my red beans. Give me some poor boy, muffaletta dreams down in New Orleans. Down in New Orleans. Down in New Orleans. Laissez les bon temps rouler. So it's like, I wanted to use that line. It went perfectly in that like that, you know what I mean? So that's why magical process. That means, it's really nothing in a lot of ways. But it's fun. I have another song too. It's on the late one of the latest albums actually we did, the latest CD. Not the latest one, the one before it. Smokehouse Serenade album. And it's Shaking Like Jelly. And it's about like somebody, like a woman or somebody shaking like she's a little more plump. And it's about a guy like, it's that kind of blues thing again. It's like I'm using it as a, shaking like jelly. She shakes like jelly. I'm your peanut butter boy. Like that's the lines,
Yeah.
And it's just like that old adage of pet my poodle or blah blah blah. There's always just little like innuendos going on, with the stuff. And
can you tell our viewers, once you've got the songs for an album, what is your creative process going forward? You get together with the band and rehearse? Do you send them the songs for them to add their parts and then head into the recording? So how's that all come together?
Let me have a quick drink. That's better. We would play it live. I'd throw a couple of songs in when we're doing live. And as we're playing live, it just kind of gets, kind of familiar with what's going on. And then when we get to the studio, what we'll do is we'll just take a little time as we're getting sounds. And we'll go over a couple of things and we'll say, let's do this one, let's do that one. But I find if you go in recording, the best thing to do is just play and just let it all just come out and let it just be natural. The more natural it is. I've heard tapes of us play live that I would go home not hearing the tape of it live. I did a pay-per-view with my father's place, the place back here, over during the COVID. Actually, it was during the probably about 8 months ago, and I remember doing it and being so depressed coming home from it. I was like, oh my god, you know what I mean? We haven't played in a long time. We're like, this is awful. And my drummer Mario is a DJ here in New York. He has a blues show on Friday mornings, and he played one of the tunes. He says, I found something. You got to hear this. And he played it for me, and I was like, wow, it's actually pretty good. And he goes, I know. He goes, we just don't realize when we're playing sometimes we don't think it's any good. But really, some things are pretty good. And that's what I'm talking about. It was very spontaneous. Spontaneity was right there. It was like really right happening. And it's so much fun doing that like that.
I was looking through your discography, and to be honest, I wasn't introduced to you until your album Black Revised came out.
Okay.
The song EP, James Murphy sent to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Smokehouse Serenade comes out 3 years later. And it's basically kind of like the same album, just with 4 added songs. Why did you decide to re-release those 8 songs?
You know what it is?
Years later.
For a long time, I myself don't like to fly. I mean, I haven't, last time I've flown, I went to Ireland twice. I played the Guinness Blues Festival. This is going back like 7 or 8 years ago. And we have a lot of opportunities to go overseas, to do things, you know what I mean? And it's me holding it back. And so what I do is I make music for the tri-state area or whatever, or the outer area, you know, the coast, whatever. And so I think to myself, so we don't really put things out nationally. I did a couple of things actually. My first blues CD was an international album. It was on an album called it was on Highlander Records, which is a jazz label, and they put us with the Allman Brothers. That was that big tour we did at the time, and then with Dickie and this and that, we did all that stuff. And so it was more like I just didn't want to fly, so I felt a little weird about doing things. So we didn't put things out after that. We didn't really. We made albums just for the consumption of fans that are like in New York or whatever it is. And that Black album, it's funny. I like to use things. It's almost like Warholish. That was a tag from a Dunkin' Donuts cup of tea, and so it's actually black tea is what it is.
Oh, okay.
I saw it one day. I was in an picking somebody up at an airport. I wasn't on an airplane. Picking a friend of mine up, and I had a cup of tea from Dunkin' Donuts. I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'll make a great T-shirt. And sure enough, we made it into an album cover. So the thing is, like when James came to us, James Murphy, from Highlander Records, he approached with the idea of like, you have like 13 CDs. He goes, a lot of it nobody's heard besides here. Like, why don't we, you know, let's do something with this. So I said, well, the closest thing I have with the band that we have now, 2 of my members are from Savoy Brown. Mario Ciano and Jerry Sorrentino, my bass player. They're from them. So we're, you know, being extremely tight together for the last like maybe 6, 7 years, we've been playing. We decided, because we made that CD, I said, why don't we go, we use some of this, we'll put some new tunes on it, and we'll add as we go along. And so James thought that this should be heard. To everybody else, it's new. You know what I mean? To us, you know, people have heard the CD, but to the world, nobody's really knows what's going on. So that's why we did it like that. And that's why we put it out like that. This way, I know you've heard it beforehand, but I know like a lot of people that are being played out there, nobody's heard the Black Album really in a lot of ways. But this way, that's there like that. And the next one is a compilation of a lot of stuff we've done over the years, which nobody's heard of. So I sat with Jim and I said, what do you like? What are you looking for, you know, in this? Because I have a lot of folk stuff too. I do a lot of our CDs. There's a lot of different stuff on. I tend to get rootsy, not necessarily completely bluesy, but still tinging on, still feeling it. You know what I mean? Like if you were an Allman Brothers fan or a Little Feat fan, like you would like our music, I think, because it stems in that same kind of like realm of type of category, you would say. So this one like Fatherless Boy was recorded a while ago, but still, we still do it and still in our repertoire. But a lot of people, it never got out nationally or internationally. And now with what he did with Highlander, which is great, the whole radio thing all over the world. I mean, I get stuff from people from France, from Croatia. I mean, everywhere. People want autographs and stuff like that. It's very expensive sending that stuff, by the way.
Yes, it can be, yeah.
But you know, but it's great though. It's like people have seen it, hearing it, and they never would have heard it. They don't know. And blues music to me is like it's so timeless.
Let me ask you this question. On a lot of your albums, I've noticed that you have a lot of cover songs, maybe 2, 3 on each album. When you're doing an album, how do you decide which cover songs you want to add to that album?
As long as we don't do it like the actual song.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them is just because I know the words. I mean, that's how, you know, I can be lazy at times. I mean, I know, you know, I like we did a version of on the Smokehouse Serenade. We did Blind Willie Tell, Stage Bell Blues. I'm sorry, and I did not want anything to do with the Allman Brothers version. I mean, it's, you know, how can you even touch it? And his version also, Blind Willie Tell, is very acoustic, very. It's called Piedmont. He's a Piedmont player, and it's kind of a Delta meets the East Coast type thing like that. He's doing 12 strings, finger picking. I did something in between, so we used like actually a Louisiana beat,
Mm-hmm.
and for one of the solos is actually a trombone. So somebody can come and say, "Oh, why isn't it like the Allman Brothers, or why isn't it like so and so?" I'm like, because, you know, we're going to do our own thing, and I'm going to do something like that. I also do a version of "Roll Over Beethoven" by you know, Chuck Berry, and it's also it's like a halftime. It's like a gonna write a little letter, gonna mail it to my local DJ. It's like that. It's a whole different. The other one's like, you know, write a little letter, gonna mail it to my local DJ. That's the usual way it would be. But yeah, I just like doing different beats, and like I said, if I know the words, I'm just doing that I know the words to.
It's in the middle of a pandemic, or maybe it was before. When you did Tales from the Psychedelta, was that recorded pre-pandemic, or was that recorded at the beginning of the pandemic and then released, that album?
Well, I was saying before that a lot of those tunes were recorded prior, way prior, like almost like, you know. And so I kind of compiled it all together. Stuff we had that nobody really heard. That's what I'm saying again. It's a lot of things that people aren't really hearing that should be out there. And that was Jim's idea. Like, you know, we got so much of this stuff. Let's put it out. Let's get it out.
I want to talk to you about an EP that you released in 2012. It was a 5-song EP called Blues from Zone A.
Oh my God.
It was an album that you did to raise money for Superstore Candy Relief. Let me ask you,
yes,
Kerry, is there a significance to the title of that EP? And why did you choose the 5 songs that you chose to be on that EP?
I have to go back into my little transporter for a second in that one. What it was it was a few people from the neighborhood. I had Annika Bennett, who was singing songs in that. She's a very young woman at the time. Now she's got like this big deal in California, and she's songwriting for these like big artists. Like, she really broke through. It's fantastic. And the drummer was about 12. He was a friend of mine's son who played drums. So I had people like from the area. I said, listen, we're going to make a CD. We're going to raise money for this cause. And so we did a couple of live concerts in the area, and we raised maybe about $10,000 or $15,000 for it, actually. And we gave the money to a lot of people that was their houses were like, if the house wasn't your primary home, you didn't get any insurance really. Mm-hmm. So they were like out of insurance. So to help them like build their house back, we couldn't really help them that much. But if we gave them $500, $600, they could buy a new stove or a new whatever, something to help like that. That was that. And the Zone A is, I'm in Zone A. There was different zones, Zone A, Zone B. I'm in the worst zone there was, actually. My house got about 7 feet of water in it.
Wow.
And it was, yeah, I'm right on the beach here pretty much. And so Blues from Zone A, that was the whole thing about that. But the tunes I picked, again, it's like stuff that I kind of knew, stuff that was going on. I also was very instrumental in making it. I have a deluxe, I have a couple of beautiful old deluxe reverb amps, Fender amplifiers for guitar players out there. I have a 64 and a 65. That's like, pretty much, stock. And I just took my guitar and just plugged it in and just cranked to about 7. And all the tones I got on it are all just like straight through, like as much as a blues guy would do in a lot of ways. No trickery, in other words. So that was a big thing with that. But yeah, but we sold quite a few of them for that cause. And at the time too, people were very generous of giving because of what happened. They wanted to give somehow, and I wanted to give something to them to have that and understand like what it was. It's funny you said that. That has totally left my psyche. I mean, the whole album itself, that CD. I got to go back and listen. I haven't heard it since I did it, so
Really?
I got to listen to it sometime. Yeah.
So let's talk about Tales from the Psychedelta. What is the significance of the title of the album?
Well, Psychedelta came from, I was doing a show one time with a couple of friends, and they were a Grateful Dead band, and they're from here, and they invited me up to do a couple of songs. I had my dobro with me, my electric dobro, and we just jammed some stuff like Big Boss Man, like stuff that the Dead did actually. That was like kind of more bluesy. I did a couple of songs also that I did maybe like Sweet Home Chicago or something like that. We were just jamming out that we all knew. And when I got off the stage, one of the guys that was a friend of theirs came up to me and said, "That was Psychedelta, like Psychedelic and Delta." And I was like, "Man, I'm gonna freaking take that." I said, "Thank you." I was like, "I'm taking that." And so the first CD I did, Welcome to the Psychedelta, that became that. And it's funny because that's when I started really getting into like Louisiana beats and stuff like that, and utilizing that whole realm of music, besides like having an electric type of like Texas type of thing or Chicago type of blues. There's a lot of, and I try to make also, what's interesting, I try to make each CD I do the whole gamut of blues. I'll do like an acoustic tune, something kind of delta-y. I'll do something Piedmonty. I'll do something with Chicago beat. I'll do something like a California kind of swing type beat. And I'll do like Louisiana, like I said, Louisiana beat, which I love, that whole halftime type thing like that. And it makes it more interesting, I think, to the listener to have a gamut, a lot of different kind of blues, and not just like the one, I mean, a lot of blues albums have a similar feel. And I wanted to make one where it's a lot of different feels. And that makes it fun for us too. Like I would get bored if it was always the same, so
Right.
As a player, it's good. Yeah.
I one of my favorite songs of the album is "Thank You, Jesus." It's kind of a bit of a gospel song in a way.
I'll tell you a story. You want stories? You got stories. And the story is, it was during that time I recorded. I don't know. It was 90 something. I forget when it was. And I recorded that tune. And I went to. I was trying to find an open church on Christmas Eve. And so I went to a couple of churches with a couple of friends, and none of them were open. I'm like, wait a second. I mean, I haven't been to church in a million years since then. But so I called my mom was alive at the time. I called her and I said, listen, I was like, where is there where's midnight mass? She goes, are you kidding? She goes, I haven't been midnight mass in like 10 years. I'm like, well, there you go. She goes, because everybody's drunk. Like they don't do anything because everybody's so disruptive. Everybody's like comes there drunk. They're like, eh. So I was like, oh, that's great. So there was 2 tunes I wrote out of it. And the first song I wrote was called I Want to See the Lord, but There's No One Home. And it was a song, it's like I went to see the Lord, but in this city he was not at home. Went to see the Lord, and I know he wasn't home, meaning like it wasn't open. So it's one of those kind of tunes. But after I did that song, I kept thinking of the religious thing. So the Thank You Jesus thing is about basically Sam Taylor, the great Sam Taylor's on that song also, Thank You Jesus.
Yes.
And really, really great. That was the song you asked me about, right? I didn't want to get out of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I get mixed up with the other one I just played, actually. But anyway.
Now I got to ask you about Running, Weeping, and Trembling. Is that specifically about a woman? And
it's one of those things again. It's just a way of putting words into a song again. You know, like it's running with drum. It could be about a thing like that. A lot of them fictitious. I very rarely write a song that's of like real. I find the fictitious ones are like you can kind of like dream about more about what you're saying. Because if something's real, you kind of get it. You kind of like trip over yourself. I think what's going on. Although I have some of those, but I find that tune, it probably fictitious. But I want a song also that would change keys in the middle of it. And it's in G. I'm playing regular guitar in G, and then I go. No, I'm sorry, it's in E, and then I go to a G to do a slide. Then I come back to E again. So I want a song I can kind of break up the key a little bit, make it interesting like that. But yeah, that song too, that was recorded a little while ago. And I get a lot of feedback about that one actually.
Fatherless Boy. What's the story behind
that? Actually, that's what the real thing. That's my dad died. I was sitting in his chair actually. He had a big like a lazy boy type of recliner. I remember sitting in it with my dobro. I was playing it, and I remember all the tunes like Motherless Children, Motherless Child, and I said to myself, "There's not a fatherless one." So I made Fatherless Boy instead. I kind of threw it in like that. Yeah, love to get Eric Clapton. He could be like a full range. He has motherless child, motherless children, and fatherless boy. It'll be like a full.
Heck, I mean, you even reference motherless child in the album, in the song.
Yeah, you're a motherless child. I'm a fatherless boy.
Right. Yeah.
Because and I thought I'd give the dads a little kudos, a little kick.
Is the Duck House a real place? Yeah, the song you
have. It is.
Schaefer Time.
There you go again. See, now you got me on all the real stuff here. Duck House, an old friend of mine, her grandparents out near East Hampton, Long Island, owned a duck farm in an old house. And in the 1920s, people would drive out and they go off the highway. What kind of highway was out there at the time? And they would go to this house, and they had a great big kitchen, and they'd have a duck dinner in this old house, and all duck coops going all the way back. So she was selling the house, and it was ready for sale, and there was nothing in the house. She showed it to me one day, and inside where the kitchen was, it was a huge ceiling. I said, I got to record a song in this place. So a friend of mine got his computer. We went there. And it goes from a song called Schaefer Time that was done in the studio on a friend of mine, very, very good friend of mine, Jerry Schaefer, good DJ friend of mine. I played it live in honor of him on a show one day. I just did an improvisation. And so we put them both together. They're in both the same key. And we put Duck House. So the Duck House, I just improvised. It was teeming rain out that night. And that became the Duck House Blues. That's this guitar, actually. That's my silver tone guitar on that thing like that, and with this great big sound, like you got a great big, hall feel to it, and that's where I got that from like that. But yeah, that's the real place, Duck House for the Hamptons.
I like the song you have on the album, Memphis High. It's kind of got a bit of a Stevie Ray Vaughan feel to it.
Here we go again, a real, from one of my, something that happened to us. But we went down. There was they had this contest, Good Times Magazine. Good Times Magazine is a music magazine in Long Island. They had this, there was a music paper, I think. But anyway, a friend of mine won to go down, his band. I wasn't competing in it, but they called me to come down and play at these showcases, just to come down and jam. And so we went down, there's a place called Handy's Blues Hall. Okay, on Beale Street, and we were slotted to play there. Okay, about 3 or 4 bands were playing. So the first band went on at 7 o'clock. The old Beale Street is all closed off, kind of like Bourbon Street. They closed the whole place down at night. This is during May, and so we're in the club. It's getting a little crowded. Nice sized place, old place, very old Beale Street. So we're playing, and first band goes on 7 o'clock. Everything's great. Second band goes on at 8 o'clock. Everything's great. We go on 9 o'clock, and it was a sardine can in there. And nobody knew who we were, nothing, right? So I kick off a couple of tunes to get people jumping, right? and the place, I thought the roof was going to fall. I mean, it was just, everybody by that time was so primed. And there's a speaker outside, so we're being pumped outside on the street, and people are just coming in and coming. We're just going berserk. I got my electric slide going, the whole thing going nuts. When after we did that show, the guy who ran the whole street was in the audience, and he said, "Listen, I want you guys on Beale. Are you here for a couple of days?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're here for the weekend." He says, "I want you on Beale tomorrow night. I want you at BB King's. Kenny Wayne Shepherd's playing. I want you to open the show." I said, "Oh, that sounds great." It's going back quite a few years. So this is over 20 years ago. So what happened was that next day was 4 of us in the band. I said, "We're going to go, and we're going to go to the Goodwill, like the Salvation Army, and we're going to buy blue suits. Let's go get blue suits." So with $20, we bought 4 suits, $5 a piece. I had a checkered suit on, a big old suit. Another friend of mine had a lime green suit. It was insane. We're going to go. We're going to take Beale Street. So we put it on and break out a couple of tunes. And I remember we did Sweet Home Chicago again, about songs we love playing, jamming. And there was 150 people on the dance floor, and they were all, I had everybody singing, going berserk. It was so much fun. It was such a good feeling. It was such a great. And when we left Beale Street, on outside there was a big light pole, and I hung the suits on that light pole when we left. So we waved goodbye to the suits, and somebody probably grabbed them, obviously. But what I did was when I went home, I was still on a Memphis high. That's the whole thing. It was like, I got my old guitar, I got my pair of shoes. Gonna love you, baby. Like, I play some blues. Gonna love you, mama. Gonna love you high and dry. Gonna love you, baby. But I'm still on a Memphis high. In other words, the same old thing. It's poetry. Whatever that means.
Kerry, let me ask you about those 3 posters that are behind you.
Okay.
Tell me about them.
Well, there's actually a couple of. The one right, let me see, point this. This right here, this is a Butterfield Blues Band and Mike Bloomfield from 1969 from the Fillmore.
Okay.
It's an original poster. I'm a poster collector. I got the whole house is full of them. I can do something really quick. I don't want to hurry. But if we go this way, you see the Beatles?
Yeah. Okay.
Those are Richard Avedon originals from '67.
Wow.
Those are Prince. But I have that up here too. I have some other stuff here. I have there's one over there too. There's the one on the end. It's Country Joe and the Fish. That's the Doors blacklight post from '67. That one is like I said, Bloomfield and Butterfield Blues Band. And the one behind me over here, that's the introduction to the Summer of Love, '67. The blacklight poster also. You see a little bit kind of white on it. But I have tons of posters. I collect posters. They're pretty cool. It's it's funny. It's the one affordable thing I find still that you can do something and really find something really cool. Also, my hand is in different places. Over this way, those small ones, those are handbills from the Fillmore and the Avalon Ballroom in San Francisco.
Oh wow!
One's the Grateful Dead, one's Janice.
Okay.
I have a couple of Yardbirds, and it's just really, really great art. I mean, you can get those for like $5, $8 a piece, and they're mint. They never. I mean, to me, it's a deal. You know what I mean?
Right.
Most are a little more expensive, but but it's a thing where you can get kind of on the ground floor of something that's cool. I was always saying to myself, it's funny. When I was young, I was like, why didn't our great grandfather buy a Picasso when it was cheap?
Let me ask you a question. What makes you happy?
My girl makes me happy. You like that? She loves that. She loves said this to her. She's standing right over there. I love playing on the beach. I live on the beach. I love jamming with friends. I love playing live. It makes me unbelievably happy. It's like I'm still 12 years old. What
is your favorite curse word?
Well, it's got to be fuck. But it's not the word itself. It's the way it's said. It's fuck. You know what I mean? That's what for some reason I have a habit of saying that a lot. I can't say a lot, but if I spilled something right now, I'd say fuck. So it's my favorite curse word.
What is one profession you would not want to do?
To be a nurse.
You have toured all over the world. When you're on tour, luckily you get a day off. What is one of the things you like to do when you got some downtime when you're on the road?
Probably go sightseeing. find a really good restaurant, number one. Do some sightseeing stuff. Do that. We went with Marty Balin in '89. I went to Russia with him. We'd have 2 weeks. Moscow and Leningrad. Leningrad at the time before St. Petersburg again. And I played totally the whole time. I played for like 10 minutes. The 2 different shows we did. We did one show in Moscow. It was a TV show. There were 3 at the time. It was still kind of communist. There were 3 TV stations. One is a Politburo, which is like, them talking, politics. One is a news station, and one was a variety station. And we were on the variety station. So guess what? 1 billion people watched. The next day, after we played, I felt like I was Elvis Presley. I mean, everybody knew who we were. Everywhere I walked, I couldn't walk anywhere. It was amazing. But when we were able to do things, I went to the Hermitage, which is where Catherine the Great lived. It's a big museum with old paintings of Europe. It's like they stole. I mean, the Nazis stole from Europe a lot of paintings, and when the Russians caught them, they took the paintings themselves, and now it's in here. So I got to see all these paintings that they were stealing.
Kerry, what do you have planned now that things are beginning to get back to somewhat normalcy? Are you looking to hit the road this year?
Yeah, I'm hoping to. We have to kind of that's going to be down the line a little bit. We're going to make a new CD within the next month, I think. We're going to start going in again because even the studio's open again, which is great. But I find that we have some stuff. I have some local stuff. I play with a local band in my hometown with some friends, and we do like Beatles and Crosleys and Nash, do harmonies and stuff like that, like just for local stuff on the beach. And I have a few of those coming up, which is fun. But as for the blues band, like my actual band, we have some stuff that are coming up, some really cool outdoor events, a couple of festivals that are really cool. I'm really looking forward to getting back that again. And that's going to start in a couple of weeks. We have a place out here. It's called Thai Rock, and it's a Thai restaurant that plays a lot of blues music.
Oh wow!
In my area, it's on a dock out there out in Rockaway Beach, and it's just really, really great. And a lot of friends on Facebook and this and that I put out to, they're all like so psyched we're back, that there's something going on again, and I can't be happier. I'm like so excited.
Where can people find out more about you and your music, and where you'll be playing? I'm
pretty much maxed on my friends on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook though if you want. We have go on to Kerry Kearney Band. It's Kerry Kearney Band with a K, Kerry Kearney Band, and you'll get on that one. My personal one is hard to get onto. I have a lot of friends on that one, but I put out all the time. Kerry Kearney Band will have it on there. What's going on? KerryKearneyOfficial.com. Everything's on there. You can find out where we're playing all over that like that. Well, you can get merchandise. We have shirts. We have, pretty much a lot of CDs, a lot of stuff. And Highlander Records, by the way. Highlander Records will have their stuff also. You can go on to HighlanderRecords.com.
Kerry, I want to thank you, man, for taking time tonight. Stop by, review the blues. It's been a real blast. Take care. Be safe.
Cool.
I wish you all the best.
You got to get to Memphis.
I will definitely.
I'll meet you there.
We're going to close out our interview tonight with a song from Kerry Kearney's latest CD, Tales from the Psychedelta. This is Fatherless Boy.
Oh, let's go take a walk down by the river, where you can tell me that you never say never. Now the time has come to put away all my toys, 'cause you're a motherless child, and I'm a fatherless boy. Oh, let's go take a walk down my street, get consolation by the friends that I meet. Now the time has come to put away all my joy, 'cause you're a motherless child, and I'm a fatherless boy. Take a walk walk down by the river. Well, you can tell me that you never say never. Now the time has come to put away all my toys. 'Cause you're a motherless child and I'm a fatherless boy. You never say never. Now the time has come to put away all my toys. You're a motherless child and I'm a fatherless boy. Oh, when I take a walk down my street, get consolation by the friends that I meet. Now the time has come to put away all my joy. 'Cause you're a motherless child and I'm a fatherless boy. Oh yeah. Take a walk by the river. You can tell me, baby, the time has come. Put away all my joy. 'Cause you're a motherless child and I'm a fatherless boy.